Do you bleed black and gold? Is gritty your spirit animal? Does the sound of F1 engine make your heart race? Lend us an ear when we will share the exhilaration of Flyers hockey, the excitement of Steelers football, the nail-biting finishes of F1, and the pride when we yell, "We are Penn State." Welcome to the SteelFlyers podcast, the strangest combination of sports fandom since pineapple was put on pizza. Welcome to the SteelFlyers YouTube channel and podcast. This is your host, SteelFlyers. Please hit the subscribe and the like so you can keep the information flowing, and also let us know how each video and podcast is doing. Today, we're delighted to be joined by not one, but two of the greats. We got the pearls of wisdom all lined up and ready to go. How you doing on this fine hockey day today?
I am doing fantastic, sir. Thank you for having me. It's amazing. It's awesome that Borek and I did something yesterday on my channel, on my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. You can go check that out over there on the YouTube, and we get to do it again today. This is fun stuff.
So how can we get a hold of you there, Perlo?
You can get me on my Twitter at Perlo's NHL POW. And like I said, my NHL Pearls of Wisdom, you just told you, as I told you as well. You can also go over to BPAL Picks on YouTube and see me over there.
Check them out, man. You guys got to be following them for sure. Also, we have the Meteors of Knowledge, Joe Borek, dropping huge meteors all over the place. Tell me, how you faring today, buddy?
Doing well. I'm doing really well. Like I said, the weather's a little warm, but been getting to exercise and night and to shoot a basketball around a bit. So it's been
There
nice.
you go.
Training camps in session. Now we're in phase 3. Like I said on Pirlo's channel yesterday, there's been some good news as of yesterday. I haven't heard anything new today. Only 2 positive COVID-19 cases out of 2618. So 2,618 tests.
Wow, there you go.
To more than 800 players since phase 3. So it's been moving kind of like how England was, in the right direction when they made it more locked in. So that's kind of how the soccer leagues fared. So that's some good news. But you can find me at JJBorek26 on Twitter. And then I write for the Flyers Nitty Gritty team, which is great. And then my own YouTube channel is Sports Fanatic News, which has our True Philadelphian Sportscast. Link to it.
Man. Yeah, you got to get into all that stuff, man, because them guys got the right information for what you need. That's for sure. I want to thank you guys both very much for joining me today. I have to tell you that this is both an honor and a blessing to have both two of the best hockey knowledges joining me today on the show. We're going to get right into the meat. I'm not messing around. We're going to get right into it, okay? Just like Joe has just recently said, we just started getting really deep into training camp, and we're going to really dive into what's going on with the Flyers today. Over the past few days, a lot's happened, not just in the NHL, but with the Flyers. What has been the most significant thing that has happened over the last few days? In your opinion, what do you think, Joe?
The most significant thing that's I would say the continued development. They've talked about how good, which I think a lot of people expected Farabee has looked since coming into camp, and he's continued to look great and impress everybody. And then also, I think a great thing is Zamula's looked good since coming off of back surgery. He even said today he feels like, I can't remember the exact quote, but he's getting better and better playing with these guys on the ice and more comfortable. So that's great for going forward. Maybe not potentially in this playoffs, but just having him around now gives him great experience. But Farabee would be my guy because he's a guy that, like Jamie Bascal said of our Flyers Nitty team, he's a guy that it's almost like you're coming into your third season for everyone now because you had such a long layoff, or you're coming into the next season. For him, would be
sort of.
Second season.
Yeah, for lack of better word, yeah.
So he's coming into so he seems to be really comfortable and really in the groove. And then another guy that just continues to impress since getting his contract, that just does everything right and takes what's given to him, does all the little things right, would be Mark Friedman. And Mark Friedman also has continued to look pretty solid. So, and then Trewinski and Bunneman they keep doing their thing and impressing in training camp. So.
So you think that the most significant thing that's happened over the last few days is the young guys coming into camp and really just kind of
Yeah.
picking right up like nothing's, like they haven't missed a beat. They've come right in, and it's like, man, all right. It's like you can't even tell these guys have missed skating for the last what, 3-4 months.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Exactly, because you expect the veterans to come in and be okay and be able to rally the troops. Sometimes younger guys aren't able to, just because they're not as experienced, jump right back in and look as smooth and everything. And
Exactly.
younger guys have looked. Has looked fantastic on the ice as well, and he scored a goal today. Hayes scored a hat trick today in the scrimmage.
In
So
the scrimmage today,
yeah,
yeah, sweet.
so I mean everybody's looking pretty good. So I would say the youngsters, though, they're going to really step up, and NAK is very confident heading into this playoff. So I would say he's another guy. Look out for him in the bottom six, really playing almost like this is his second full season,
Yeah, that's
or
awesome.
first full
No,
season,
and
second season.
yeah, great points too about the youngsters. That's really great. Perlo, tell me, buddy, lay some wisdom on me, man. What do you think? What do you think has been the most significant thing that's happened with the Flyers just since we've been back over the last couple of days?
Honestly, I'm hearing. See, I hear it from kind of a different perspective because I'm not really in the Philadelphia area. So the big things that come up to me are Brian Elliott's looking amazing. Like I'm hearing that Brian Elliott is looking like a man possessed out there right now, and I think that bodes well. To me, this comes from a lot of the confidence that I've mentioned before that AV has showed it through to him throughout the year. He's an X factor that could surprise. You got to remember when Elliott was with St. Louis, there was a time when they thought he might be like a Hall of Fame type goaltender. And it appears
Yeah,
to me that AV, he's done wonders with a lot of these guys. Who knows what he may be doing in the head of Brian Elliott here. I'm from I'm hearing it from a lot of different perspectives of scouts and people that are watching, saying that he's really putting up a fight out here with Carter Hart. So that bodes well for both. And as far as I'm concerned, that to me is the biggest development because I believe Philadelphia is going to live and die on their goaltending this year a lot. If Hart and Elliott are playing out of their heads and there is a competition as it is right now, first of all, even if Hart wins this battle, it's going to bring him to the highest level that Hart can be.
yeah,
And if Carter is at that level for Philadelphia, I say they're a cup contending team. I also wanted to mention as well with Farabee, I love this kid, and I think he can be I believe you've heard it here. I believe he's going to be an impact in these playoffs. I really do. I
yeah.
love the attitude of the kid. I love his work ethic. I love that he's not like a 20-year-old that I've seen on the ice. He plays
Doesn't come
a
across
playoff
that way,
type.
does he?
No, he plays a playoff type style. And when I've seen players like that to go into play-in rounds or playoff rounds like this, and there's nothing in their head. You know what? Sometimes veterans are more impacted by pressure than kids because kids don't sometimes, quite often, kids don't realize what's going on. They're just happy to be there. And if Farabee's in that zone, I have a feeling we could see some special things from him in these playoffs this year. I really do.
The big thing from Joel too is he can play, another player that can play on both ends of the ice, which is why he marked himself ahead of Frosty, where Frosty's moved back in our prospect pool a little bit because that's the thing he still struggles at big time, playing in his own end.
Mm.
So that's the other impressive thing with Farabee. He's a guy that you can, if you want to, put on your PK and power play. Just kind of like we saw Abe Kubel play a lot on our PK since he came up as a young player that's impressed, but has also played on the power play. So the Flyers having the flexibility of players this year, and AB, like you cited, Pirlo, finding the best way to find places for people and place them perfectly in the lineup. That
Hmm.
flexibility, it's usually harder for a coach to place people perfectly when you have all that flexibility. He's done it so seamlessly. Obviously, that's why he's one of the people up for the Jack Adams, because in my opinion, that's more difficult. When you have a bunch of guys that can seamlessly move around, sometimes as a coach, you don't know how to place people because you're like, well, you could go here, here, or here, where he does it so well, fits the pieces of the puzzle together. That's what's so impressive, too.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that he also has made the guys accountable.
Yes.
That's why I think we're seeing the resurgence of the youngsters, because those youngsters have bought into what he's doing, and Scott Gordon down at the Phantoms and the lower levels are all kind of, pushing that same kind of system. So I think it's a mentality that has definitely changed since AV's been there, since Fletcher's been there, to where the team is more of a responsible team now, 200 feet, instead of just, okay, this guy plays in the offensive zone, this guy plays in the defensive zone, and they're more, you know what I mean? They're more responsible. And I think that's why we're finding better players. We're drafting better players because we're picking guys that can do that. You know what I mean? So
we did that under Hexy too, because
but that's what I mean.
Yeah,
But that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's what you picked him for. You knew his defense was there, and you hope his offense, even if it doesn't, he's a good bottom six. But if his offense develops, he could potentially be on a second line.
Exactly. And that's the other thing too. And I'm going to have to. I will third you guys' sentiment and say definitely the youngsters have been the most significant thing that I could see coming out of camp right now, has been how impressive they've been and how they've been able to be in as game shape as possible without really missing a step too much and being able to handle that kind of pressure, knowing that this is not just a training camp for the regular season. We're not going to start in the next couple of days and be talking about that. We're going to be jumping right into playoffs. You know what I mean? So I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Speaking of that, we have had some scrimmages over the past weekend, and we had some today. We had the team had off yesterday, and what do you think that did? Giving the team the day off on Monday, what do you think that did for the morale? I mean, look, there hasn't been a lot of bonding that's taken place when we went to Prague. You know what I mean? And there's not been a lot of things that have been available to do for the team for bonding, team building, those kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? And they gave the team off on Monday. And so what do you think about how that's going to affect the team moving forward? What do you think about that, Perlo?
I think it's a good place to refocus, especially when you're just starting to skate again. There's a lot of adrenaline going, and that's great, but it can be kind of tiring. It can also be what tends to happen, at least especially when I played. If there's a long layoff, first come out, you're just going gung ho, and the hands aren't keeping up with the feet quite as much. So having this time to reflect on the game is, I'm guessing, especially in the game today, that there's a lot of visualization that's asked of coaches and coaching staff and stuff like that. And having a day off like now is a good time to just sit and visualize yourself back into focus again, where your adrenaline is not overtaking your skill. And this happens so often when there's a long layoff like that. The first thing you want to do is just get those legs moving. And sometimes a player's confidence starts to dip a little bit when the hands aren't keeping up with the legs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the hands are generally a mental thing. The legs are like a willpower.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful combination of skill in hockey, of the mental aspect of the movement of the upper body and hands, and the willpower of speed at the same time. And taking that break allows for a little more visualization, to have your hands connected with the feet again, to be able to do it. And sometimes players can get out of that and it doesn't even come back. They can't seem to get it back. So that would be one of the reasons why that would happen. You also mentioned maybe social environment, getting together, just having fun and enjoying and talking to each other about how it's been coming back on the ice, and getting some of the veterans being able to give these kids the advice that, hey, you know what, visualize yourself back into the groove again, like we are. So there's that aspect as well. I think that's a very good point you brought up.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe, what do you think? How do you think it's been with the fact that the team was able to I mean they seriously they hit the ground running basically when camp started. You know what I mean? And the guys were all pretty much, full speed forward, and then suddenly there's a day off after a really, really good scrimmage. I mean, let's face it, the scrimmage over the weekend was really, really good. And so now that there hasn't been that many things to do, what do you think? How's that affecting the team moving forward? What do you think?
Well, I think it was probably a wise thing to do because I read that they're using our team. I know other teams are doing it, but not every team does it as well. AV immediately brought in our sports science people to ask him or to ask them, excuse me, and help with how much you should amp up, when you should pull back, when you should do this, when you should do that. So they probably said around here. Obviously, I don't know this, but I would think since they brought them in, they probably said right around here is a good spot for an off day. And
Yeah.
then he said, "Okay, that works because that's a Monday. Maybe I can go fishing or something." And then who knows? But anyway, that was an off day for him. I think it worked. I think it's like Pirlo said, a good day to just kind of mentally clear because you don't want to keep going, going in training camp until the first exhibition game because then you're gonna be too amped up, and three, you should have some rest before. What's the point of just keep going? You should amp it up and ramp it back. You shouldn't just keep full bore. That would be counterproductive up until the exhibition game. So, but I think they've done a pretty good job. I also think similarly to I know how Jamie said this team seems to how they talk about each other. Like Ghost said, even if he doesn't get in, he's going to be the biggest cheerleader. That's reminiscent of another team from our town, which was our 2017 Super Bowl team.
Hmm.
So just
Hmm.
pointing that out. That family like feel and structure was similar to
Yes.
the Eagles Super Bowl team.
And I think with the Oscar Lindblom has been a huge impact on the team. I would marry that in with one of the things that's been the most significant thing that happened with the team is with what Oscar Lindblom did and being able to come back and being able to skate for a little while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
With some
45
guys on.
minutes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. After treatments and everything, and coming without skate out there for 45 minutes. I mean, what that did for the morale of the team and what that did for the morale of Oscar and being able to see those guys kind of rally around him makes that team feel even more like a family, just like as you said. So that's a great point. I agree with what you said there, man. That's
I also
yeah,
wanted to
man.
mention as well, he brought up a very good point. Also, for the coach to just get his stuff in his head and the coaching staff to get together and say, okay, this guy looks like he's coming into camp in this way, and let's reassess where we want our lines and all that kind of stuff like that is important as well, right? So that was a really good point too.
Yeah, and they've been mixing it up too a little bit, and it's been really nice seeing what our coaching staff has been able to do as well. So, I mean, there's been a lot of factors I think that's really happened over the last couple days and the last few weeks since we started camp. So, and coaching has definitely been a huge factor in that too, and that's a great point. You know what I mean? I think with how everything's kind of shaken down over the last couple of days and everything, and especially the other day, the scare that we had with Jake, right, when he was unable to attend the scrimmage. Now, per the CBA, the announcement was that he was unable to participate. Okay, so then the next thing you know, the interwebs is all blazing with worry. Oh no, Jake! Oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, what do you guys feel about that whole incident and how Jake handled it the following day? He came out the next day and was like, "Guys, come on, y'all need to just like chill out, and he handled it that way and was able to kind of was available to the media, and so what do you think, man? If it was something maybe more serious, I mean, what if he really was? What if it was a positive test instead of an inconclusive, as we all found out later? You know what I mean? So, Joe, what do you think? about this one? What do you think about how? I mean, this could be something we might have to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like Jake kind of said in his thing, you're trying to be mindful of players' health and stuff. But like he said, I have no problem telling people why and being open himself. So I think it should kind of depend on the player and not be everything's unfit to play. That's the way I probably would have done it. I would have said, we'll rule you unfit to play, but if you want to say what happened, you're welcome to talk to the media and say what your test result was, because that's your own health. That's your own medical documents. That's your own
Okay.
self.
Yeah.
That I
Wow.
because the MLB doesn't really want teams saying, "Oh, 5 of our guys tested positive." But if such and such came out and said, "Oh, that was me," they haven't done anything about that. So I would be fine with that. But the NHL with their CBA doesn't allow for that. I'm 99% sure. So that's
Correct.
what I think is a issue. I think they should allow players to appease fans if they're a player that actually is okay with it, because then they're going to know. And then especially if they're like a Donovan Mitchell case, they don't have symptoms or asymptomatic. They're going to be like, listen, I have it, but I'm feeling okay. I'm doing fine. I'm going to be cheering on the team. I'm going to get back there as quick as I can. Like, it'll be more soothing rather than unfit to play, because
Yeah.
I also don't want, the other end is, if I'm a player and I tweak my knee before practice and I'm out for 3 days, I don't want people thinking I have the coronavirus for 3 days. So that's the other side of it. That's kind of what Jake, I think, was getting at. You kind of bit yourself in the butt a bit, because it's automatically, just because of the way the Twitterverse and the interwebs is, everyone's going to assume when you see an unfit to play, it's connected with the coronavirus, when it could just be connected with someone tweaking something right before
Right.
practice, or literally having a stupid test holdup like Voracek had,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
company
Exactly.
can't get everything over right away, and then it's inconclusive. So
Right. Perlo, hey man, what do you think about that? Because I know that's a serious issue, and we're getting ready to be coming into we're traveling here soon, and you know what I mean. What do you think about that? I mean, this potentially could get, especially like, because we just saw what Crosby has now been out for what, 2 consecutive days, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what I mean. So what do you got? What do you think, Perlo? What do you think? Drop some wisdom on me, buddy.
Well, I mean, I think once the bubble starts, the odds of there being an issue is going to be very slim. Now, I would
Ooh.
like to do something a little bit here and maybe give a little bit of sympathy, I suppose, or to the league. This is like all new. Like when they first came out, they were just flat out, hey, Matthews, blah 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 blah, has coronavirus or whatever, and
Yeah, they did.
everything went. They were honest right off the get go, and you saw what that got them. It was free fall. Okay, the NHL season's over, and the media
Yeah.
went crazy, and
that's
they're trying to get stuff done here, and you've got to answer. I mean, this is a lot of work getting this going, right? You've mentioned Steel and Joe that we're very happy with the way the league has been doing this in the NHL and getting things back on the ice. But this is a lot of work to redo all of this at one time, and having media hounding you and trying to find the balance. It, it's tough. I'm not going to say I know what happened with Voracek. Maybe it was like, how should we handle this? And the league said, well, let's kind of do this. And then he
Yeah.
woke up and it was like, oh my, I don't want to deal with this. And why
Yeah.
would you want to deal with this? So he said, okay, just come out and say now what it is that's going on. It'll make it easier for you. So I think they're just trying to find that balance of what's going to work for everybody. Also keep it so they don't have to be answering a million questions while we're trying to get this NHL season on the go and all that stuff like that. As far as what's going to happen if somebody gets the virus during the game or whatever, like during the series, and they got to be out,
Yeah.
it's an injury. I mean, that's just the way things go. I don't know if there's any way we can prepare for that or what have you. I just think once the bubble starts, I find it very highly unlikely that that's going to happen.
I was going to say,
Joe,
I agree
go.
with that point because my good buddy that pays attention to soccer pointed that out in the soccer league. When they came into their bubble, their cases, which we already saw, it hasn't been as big in phase 3 in general from phase 2. Their cases dropped. So being it looks better in phase 3 already, there's no reason to think it wouldn't look better in the strictest format, in the
Yeah.
bubble. So that's why I would agree with Pirlo there. I think it's going to look very good in the bubble, and that's when everything's kind of going to supplant itself. Now, they do have to test. It's in a 70-some. You need 3 negative tests in like a 70-some hour period, I believe, before. Hold on, let me pull it up for
Okay.
you guys real quick. It's
Yeah.
NHL players need 3 negative tests spaced 48 hours apart in 7 days prior to travel to Canada. So any positive tests after Wednesday or Thursday this week, and they won't hit that mark. So some players could be left behind until cleared.
Okay, so that could be a significant issue if something suddenly were to happen and unfit to play suddenly pops up on some players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for whatever
That's why I
reasons.
think it's better to like I agree with what Pirlo said. You shouldn't have teams be able to say ba 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 tested positive because that's not good. But I don't think Austin Matthews even let them say that. I think that just came out before he even okayed that being out. So I'm saying more if the player's okay with it being said. Like if I tested positive and I didn't feel like having to deal with all the crap on Twitter about, oh, well, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. I would rather, like Jake is, tell people what's going on. So I think players that are like that should be allowed to do that. And then ones that don't, you can just keep the unfit to play mark there. It's no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
You can just, because
Yeah.
it's their own medical issue. Usually in any other scenario, you're allowed to speak on your own medical stuff.
Yeah. In the NFL, and that's exactly how the NFL is set up too, where they'll list you as some kind of, unfit to play or unable to participate or whatever they're going to do. They're not going to disclose that if you're going to test positive, whatever the case is. Now, they have in the past come out and said that certain players have come out and tested positive. And like Ezekiel Elliott came out and Von Miller came out, a couple other players came out and said, yeah, we tested positive and blah, blah, blah. And even the one coach of the Saints, Sean Payton, came out and said, yeah, he tested positive and blah, blah, blah. And so, but I mean, that's the thing. It's medical. So, being medical, that means that it's that player's prerogative. First of all, once you get past whatever league you're in, once you get past those mandates, if you want to let the world know what's going on with you, that's your prerogative. You know what I mean? But the league is not going to be the one that's going to do it. They're going to say exactly how they, what's going on, that, you're unfit to play or whatever the case is, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly. I just think they should give the players that prerogative because in the
I mean? And I think they do.
I don't think you're allowed.
The league was exploring the idea after what happened with Matthews, just to not tell anybody. And then, and then Jake got what happened with Jake. Jake wakes up in the morning and goes, "Whoa, wait a second here. Let's talk this over a little bit." And they said, "Okay, if you want to, I find that the NHL, the league and the NHL are very player friendly and they're very helpful.
Yeah.
They'll adjust. I'm just saying.
So I think they adjusted in that situation, but that's just like, I have no factual information on that. It's just from the outside looking in. Right. What it looked like to me.
Right. And that's going to be that's going to go perfectly with this one. We're what, T-minus 5 days until we get to Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And what do you guys? How do you think things are going? How do you think things are going? I mean, we've had the issue with Jay coming up, and we even touched on it a little bit just right before this question. Travel restrictions have been removed for the NHL teams, and what do you guys think about just exactly what we just talked about? The fact that somebody could test positive, and the fact that the accommodations where we're staying, the team where we're staying, there's going to be some of the teams that we're playing are going to be in the same hotel. You know what I mean? So we've got all these people, and we originally predicted what 50 people to come per team, and they've increased it to 53 now because they're allowing what up to 4 goalies, so it's now increased to 53 people. So that's a total of 650 people coming to the hub cities on each side, and the Flyers are slated to stay with Toronto, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, and Boston, I think, are all going to be in the same hotel. So what do you guys think? I mean, here we are now. We're T-minus 5 days, and we had a scrimmage today. We had a Jake issue. What do you guys think? We'll start off with Perlo. What do you think, Perlo, about how we got the countdown to Toronto?
Well, several things as far as like players that could be positive and of course not be able to play. I actually think it helps us, Philadelphia, because there's not too many teams out there that have our depth. So we may get one or whatever, but there are teams out there that if they got one player, like Toronto Maple Leafs, for instance, if they got one player off that defense, whew,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Whereas if Philadelphia has somebody off their defense, we have
next man up.
We have the depth. We were just talking about the depth, the young players that we have, like Friedman and stuff like that can step in and we're fairly comfortable with. There's a lot. Pittsburgh doesn't have that.
No, a lot of teams don't.
Washington doesn't have that for their defense.
No.
So I think it actually bodes well for us in Philadelphia that may happen. I mean, we wouldn't want that to happen, of course, but I would rather, if it's going to happen to say one player from every team, I think it would benefit Philadelphia than most other teams. So in that regard, I'm not sure. As far as the other thing is them being in all in the same hotel room, the first thing that comes to my mind, and I know I might get slammed for this, but I hope there's a fight.
It'll be like back in the day. Yeah.
I'm the old school. Yeah, I still like fighting. I don't care what anybody says. So yeah, I'd be fine with that. but actually, no. In all honesty, I think it can create more tension.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, when I played, if I had to see that guy that night, and we were saying whatever we were saying, and I'm looking right at you, the next game, I'm going to be freaking more anger in me than I had if I wouldn't have was able to forget about that person over a night. So I think it's going to create some tension in that arena, and I'm liking that because the more tension, the better, as far as I'm concerned. I love it. That's what I love about hockey. One of the great things I love about hockey is that part. So.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, and it's kind of like back in the day when the teams would travel on the trains back and forth, and they would have schedules for when the team would be in the dining car, and if you were in the dining car when the other team was in there were fights, and guys would, oh yeah, it was brutal. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Joe, what do you think about that? What do you think about how the fact that we are T-minus 5 days until Toronto? We've had a little scare. We've had guys now are going to be staying in the same hotel. You know what I mean? And what do you think?
I think when everybody goes to Toronto, it is going to be interesting staying in the same hotel. That will create a little bit of a buzz, maybe like how people open their doors and scream at each other. You saw from some of the NBA players, Instagrams and stuff, yell down the hallways at each other and stuff.
And I heard some complaints too.
People have been too loud. But I think people will get more comfortable in the bubble because of what we were going back to. The health protocols are ridiculous once you enter the bubble. Jamie sent me an article earlier. It's everyone living inside the security zones will be tested daily, as well as have daily temperature checks and symptom screenings. So you're going to have, and then any player who refuses the protocol may be subject to permanent removal. So
does that mean permanent removal from
the bubble?
The tournament? Okay.
So basically, basically you're done playing, because if you get permanently removed from the bubble, you're not playing anymore. Yeah.
Right, because then you would have to come back in
yeah.
through
The
the
other
protocols
thing,
and
though,
everything.
is this is what's so impressive about the NHL. They looked at this right away. Every individual that could come in contact, hotel staff, they said, doormen, et cetera, with the teams will also be tested daily. Like, so the housekeeping, bartenders, servers, security, arena ice
Nice.
crew, all those people will also be tested. And then whoever tests positive, since I think we were trying to, they will be isolated immediately, though the NHL mandates that a singular or even multiple isolated positive tests will not halt play. So it will just move wherever they have located. They will probably isolate them in their hotel room, I would think, and then just tell them not there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, I have to agree with you. I think it's going to create a little animosity with having everybody all in the same hotel and everybody kind of all congregating in the same place. I mean, I think that's definitely going to create some animosity for sure. I mean, how could it not? Let's face it, these guys are athletes and they're competitive. Okay. And you're going to be just like with what Perlo said, when you're sitting across from the guy that you're going to be checking the next night, I'm not going to be real friendly to you. I'm not. I mean, look, I played football for quite a few years, and when we got off the bus, and if you were in the same vicinity as where we were, it was game face. We didn't care about who you were. We were trying to come in and destroy you, and that's just how it is, and that's how these guys are because they're professionals.
Yeah. Some players do like. It depends on the players, because some players do like saying what's up to someone, acting all nice before the game, and then just going, and then just turning on it. Some guys do like being chippy before the game and then just destroying the person in the game, just to kind of have it be more of maybe a little bit of a surprise factor. It's like, oh, we were just
exactly
20 minutes ago.
Exactly.
I think for the most part, players shut it off. But there are things that happen on the ice that go beyond the respect factor of on the ice. That's the thing. Going out and having a fight, even, you're not going to be mad at that person afterwards as part of the game.
No.
There are things, though. There are things that happen on the ice that permeate past the ice. And when you and sometimes there's a rivalry that happens so intensely.
Malkin's done a couple of them.
We've seen that. We've seen that.
Yeah, right.
It may be so intense that it could permeate past the ice. It could.
Yeah.
It's that passionate of a game.
And especially the fact that we're all staying in the same hotel with everybody. So it's not like you can just, escape from it. You're not going to necessarily be able to escape from them.
The animosity doesn't leak out into the open air. It's right there in front of your face. Exactly.
I was thinking there probably won't be a lot of contact in hotels, though, because I'm assuming they segment when people are allowed to go down to get food, or if you're even allowed to go down to get food, or if they're bringing it to you, like they kind of started in the NBA bubble. I feel like it would be similar to that, so you're probably not going to have much run-ins with other teams, because they're probably going to say, this is when such and such can go, this is when such and such. That would be what I would think. Otherwise, you're going to have too many people at the food area.
From what I understand, each team has their own floor, and they will have their own food facilities available to them, provided to them by the hotel.
So then you're not going to run into the otother team.
Right. So there's really, and that is what makes them, and that's probably why they were allowed to be hub city. You know what I mean? Because they have enough facilities to take care of all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
I tell you what, I've been we touched on this earlier. We've been so very impressed with what the NHL has done as far as their protocols, as far as them coming out and making an announcement as far as what they were going to do and then following it. And they have been following it to the letter. And I've been overly impressed with how things have going. And there has been very few positive cases going on in NHL. And this is why we did this in phases, so that if there was a positive test, you would have that time to get clear, get a negative test, and be able to join your team. And then now you're taking all these people that have all tested negative and dropping them into a bubble. instead of like what the NBA did, where they said, okay, we have this bubble, let's bring everybody in from the outside, and then we'll see how it goes. Well, yeah, you're going to have spikes in cases and all this other kind of stuff because you got people coming in from all over the place that have never been tested. That's why I've been very impressed with what the NHL has done. And that's why I've been very impressed with how things have been handled. Okay. And I can't even say enough about that. And I'll tell you what, I can't thank you guys enough for being on this show. I can't thank everybody enough for tuning in. I've had some of the most awesome guests for this video. Perlo, buddy, thank you so much for your great pearls of wisdom. You guys got to follow this guy. Tell us how we can get a hold of you, Perlo.
Well, like I said, we have BPAL Picks is my is the new thing, that not new, but it's back again, and it's a gambling site that I help people with their hockey picks and baseball picks, and they happen to make a fair amount of money. I have some clients that are doing well. If you want to go do the same yourself, you can check that out on Patreon or on our YouTube channel, BPAL Picks. And I also have my NHL Pearls of Wisdom there. Pearls of Wisdom that you find on YouTube, that Joe Borek and I just did a video yesterday. It was fantastic.
Oh man, that was really awesome. I had a chance to watch that.
On the
Such a
Vegas
welcome.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
man, that was good.
I love working with you, Steel. Thank you very much. This has been fantastic format that you just put together, and I'll be part of it anytime you ever want it. It's
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for being here, Joe. What can I say, man? Dropping meteors all over this video, all over this podcast. Can't say enough about you got to follow this guy, Joe, man, because if you're not, you're missing out. Joe, how can we get a hold of you, buddy?
Yeah, I echo everything Pirlo just said. Thanks for having us on. This was a blast. This was a great setup. Definitely will be on whenever and however much you want. But you can find me on JJ Borek 26, and then our True Philadelphian Sportscast is spelled out on Instagram and now Tumblr, and then True_Philly Sport on Twitter, and then of course, like I said at the front of the pod, Flyers Nitty Gritty with the great Jamie Bascal. And look for Pirlo to have him on his channel. I think it's tomorrow. And then Pub Sports Radio is my other thing that I do. So
awesome.
I really enjoyed being on. Thanks for having us on today. This was a blast.
Oh, man. I agree. This has been great. Really appreciate you guys being here. Please follow me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Stay tuned for SteelFlyers.com coming out here real soon. This is your host, Steel Flyers. Stay tuned, stay safe, and hang tough.